How's everybody doing today? Feel free to unmute yourself, throw on those cameras, guys. It's just beginning. Johan, if you can figure out that audio, go ahead and unmute yourself when you get a chance. It's going to be fun, guys. I want this to be super informative too and fun and engaging. So what I looked for these masterminds to achieve is the first two kind of were just us listening in to some of the great minds, Dr. John, Miles, CEO, Chief Medical Officer, talking about hormones and peptides. Today, this is just a discussion around nutrition, but also programming. So we're gonna have some fun talking about my personal nutrition techniques and hacks that I kind of have come to utilizing through my decades of experimentation. But I will say, there's no one way to do it, right? Don't let anybody tell you there's one way to do it, because ultimately the only way that works is what works for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so if you're going to be like the title of this was how do you look, feel, and perform like a warrior or a superhero? You got to figure out what that means to you and what you want to accomplish, what your goals are. My goal with my goal for my life is way different than Johan's goal to get on stage, right? Coach Johan, Dr. J corrected me yesterday. I'm like, it's Johan. No, it's Johan. So I'm like, he's from Sweden, by the way, which I was also corrected on because I originally said he's from Switzerland. So two corrections. But man, talk about the beast of all beasts. Johan, could you unmute yourself real quick? If you haven't
Yeah.
noticed, oh, perfect. If you haven't, I mean, I'm sure you've seen him in the X3 community talking about a superhero. This guy is the superhero, the OG. I have never seen someone so jacked and ripped, but so authentic in the way he does programming and the way he works with you specifically on what your nutrition philosophy is, and relatable because the dude, how many kids do you have, Johan?
6.
Six. You got me beat by two. I've got four.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's begin there because let's go back to when you and I met.
Yeah.
And I just reached out to you and you're like, all right, Marcus, let's see what you got. And you put me on a program and you made me do some things that I wasn't too comfortable in doing, and how my programming and my nutrition has evolved since then.
Yeah. Can start by saying like thank you for the introduction. It's kind of overwhelming. Yeah, I remember when you reached out to me, I asked you, do you want to maximize your muscle mass? Because I wanted to try my programs with just that single purpose to maximize muscle mass. And you said, okay. So we programmed both diet and training for that single purpose of maximize your muscle mass. But after a while, I think you realize that is not what you want. You are not willing to go do what you need to do to maximize that. Other things are more important for you, like your mental clarity and how you feel overall in your body. And over time, we adjusted training, we adjusted diet to something that makes you like perform better every single day, still being jacked, still looking good, still being really healthy, but also have a little bit more mental clarity and not being fatigued all the time, because those things don't go hand in hand. If you want to maximize one part of yourself, like if you want to maximize muscle mass, you will need to sacrifice a lot of other things like mental clarity sometimes, and your ability to perform in other areas of life, because it's hard to weigh a lot. It's hard to eat all that food you need to eat, and it's hard to push through that kind of training because that will leave you really fatigued from time to time.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
so we found a balance that works great for you and something that you like doing, and you can continue to do that forever.
Yeah, I can, and I show it every single day. I mean, if anyone has noticed, I I've kind of taken over, hijacked the group a little bit, and just been consistent with showing my workouts, which are all programmed by Johan. So I do 6 days with 1 day rest, and each day is a individual body part. And I can bust out my programming right now, and I can tell you it doesn't take more than 20 minutes. Now I go a little bit longer sometimes just because I do some other things for fun because you got to find your passion and your joy. And so I bring a background into it as a football player. I played collegiate and semi-pro, and a lot of the elements that I trained with back then, like sprinting, and I evolved into CrossFit. CrossFit was a big thing in my life for a while. I competed as a CrossFit athlete in the regionals. But I also notice now, as a 42-year-old with 4 kids, it's not important to me to perform as much anymore as to feel good, to look good, um, every single day, and to come back stronger, but also like not sore in the morning, right? I enjoy just minimizing risk of injury, and I find the X3 bar obviously does that. But on top of that, I'll throw in some calisthenics. So when you see my workout videos, you'll see like one set, one max set of push-ups, one max set of pull-ups, one max set of core. You don't need to do all that stuff. I just do it because I enjoy it. And then I head outside most days and I do some sprints, whether they're up a hill or outside casually on a flat surface, and I'll hit about 40 yards, turn around, walk for the recovery, and do it all over again until I'm sick of it. And that's my workout. And I do that in about 45 minutes. There's a lot of studies coming out with amazing benefits with sprinting, right? And you can look at all the doctors, and a lot of people are getting on board. But I mean, the way I look at it, it's more primal than anything else. If you think about it, we were either in our evolution running towards something to kill it as fast as possible, or running away from something as fast as possible. So there's a lot of studies that show natural, human growth hormone and testosterone raising from sprinting. And then the obvious way to think about it is look at a sprinter, like a world-class Olympian sprinter, or even look at a defensive back, or in the NFL, any position where you need speed. Contrast with an endurance runner, like a marathon runner. Whose body would you rather have? Right? Just a thought. Okay, so I do think everyone could stand, but I know a lot of people are into the 5,000 to 10,000 steps. Like, go for it. Do your walking. I'm more of a sprinter myself. Yes, I do enjoy getting the steps in as well. But at the end of the day, X3, at the end of the day, the results speak for themselves. I think you got to find out what works for you. That's just what works for me at this point in my life at the age of 42, right? And then Johan's got programming where he also he programs in some stretching inside of that. So I am making sure to stretch, just so you know. Stretching is a big component for recovery and longevity in this exercising. So we can go into a little bit of programming before we go. Let me admit some people into the room. We can go into a little bit more programming. I'm definitely going to be touching on my nutrition, because I think what percentage, Johan, would you say of your results happen in the kitchen and your daily food choices of the results?
I don't like to throw out numbers when it comes to what does what, because everything is connected together. And I just want to make sure that everyone is focusing on all things that is benefit for their bodies. I don't really like to throw out numbers, how important diet is. Just know it is important, and just leave it there, and make sure that everyone try to follow a diet as good as possible.
Yeah. I might be a little biased and say carnivore, but I think where we can agree is animal based. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a little bit of marketing for my book. I released that last Friday, and I talk about diet in the book. And if you are, if you have some kind of metabolic disease, uh, definitely you should go carnivore with zero carbs. If you are metabolically healthy and your goal is to build muscle mass, I think we can benefit from some carbs. But it is individual and it is not what I recommend for everyone. But if we want to maximize muscle mass, you will probably need some carbs to do that.
All right. Yeah, I could agree with that. And what I also will say is that carbs come naturally occurring in a lot of the meat. And not, I know, not like it's their trace amounts, but just so you know, right? The whole effect of eating a mass consumption of protein naturally will do that to your body. And I include
I
dairy.
remember in the beginning when we started, you ate a lot of carbs actually in the beginning, and you lost fat while you ate a lot of carbs, but you hated to feel hunger all the time. Uh, and that was the major problem for you.
Yes.
You couldn't concentrate on work, you couldn't concentrate on, you just wanted to eat all the time because of the carbs. So when we eliminated carbs, you started to be able to eat once per day again, and then you started to function much better in your daily life. So that
Yes.
was primarily the reason for you to not eat carbs.
That's very correct. And let me just tell you, when Johan's saying I eat once a day, I don't just eat once a day. It sounds like I eat once a day, but if you watch the way I've created my specific day, I'm up at 3:30 in the morning, by the way. So 3:30 in the morning is when I start. And the first thing I do, and I have one of them right now, this is my second of the day, is that I'm never gonna, there's one vice that I personally have that I'll never give up. I've done it for weeks at a time and even months at a time, and it's not, life is not as enjoyable without the vice of coffee in my life. Okay, I'm not saying you could be like one of those guys that say, "Ooh, coffee's a plant." You could be a hardcore carnivore. I'm like, well, whatever. I love it. So it's like more medicinal for me. So I use a really good quality coffee. I crack a raw egg in it first thing in the morning. I make my own electrolytes, so it's potassium, magnesium, and I use resin sea salt, and the perfect combination as an electrolyte. I'll throw some of that in there. Collagen and butter, about a tablespoon or two, depending on how fatty I want it in the morning. And then I'll throw in maybe like some like raw cocoa powder or cinnamon based on what I feel like. Blend it all together, it becomes super frothy, and that is basically my morning. Start there. And I know there's whole studies, and I've heard Huberman talk about you should wait 90 minutes before. I'm like, I don't care. Doing that makes me excited in the morning. Okay, I don't give a shit. I like that coffee first thing. Um, so I get it. There's ways to optimize, guys. I get it. You can go all or nothing with really with anything, but at the end of the day, you're only going to do what you're going to do if it's enjoyable and sustainable, and you'll do it every single day, right? So maybe for some of us, that means doing something for 30 days to build a habit. Sometimes it means like, hey, I'm going to go 30 days carnivore, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, for example. That's like a really easy way to start carnivore. But for me, I start there, and then I always, and I've been doing this for months now, and I encourage you guys to try this for yourself. I always have bone broth on. Okay. So throughout my day, because I'm standing here, I'm at a desk. This is actually my gym. You've seen it, but this is the corner of my gym. It's a 17 by 17 foot gym. Um, I'm standing, I have a standing desk, but I'm not doing much in terms of activity. So I want to be as sharp as possible because I love cognitively being highly functional. I don't want any energy going to my stomach to digest food. So I'm doing nothing but liquids. Although the egg you can kind of consider a food, but I'm blending it as a liquid. And so sometimes I'll throw another egg in the bone broth, but I'll roast the bones in the oven like some Moro bones that you can buy it from the store. Put them on like, from frozen. I'll put them at 400 degrees in the oven, 20, 25 minutes. They get a little bit of brown. I throw them in a slow cooker or crock pot for on high with I fill up the water all the way to the top. You guys, it's really easy. Any one of us guys can do it too. Even people that say I don't cook, right? You can do it. Um, and that's it. I turn it down 3 hours later to low, let it simmer overnight, 12 to 24 hours later. That thing will give you the next 2 or 3 days of bone broth. And you just do that on repeat. Throw in your electrolytes inside of there if you want a little bit of flavor. And I promise you, if you do what I'm doing with this coffee or something like that, maybe a fatty type of drink along with the bone broth, that could sustain you throughout your AM and day if you train and do what I do. You don't have to do this, but I found it's a kind of a ninja way of doing the whole intermittent fasting, right? Because I'm not fasting, but I'm under eating. And I learned this from doctor, well, I would say I think he's a doctor, but if you remember the late great, he's not late, but he's older now. Ori Hofmeckler, he's the OG of intermittent fasting. The Warrior Diet was the book he put out back in the day. Anybody remember the Warrior Diet? He basically talked about, yeah, David, you raise your hand. So essentially, the Warrior Diet was this idea of tapping into your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So really, the idea is fight or flight and rest and relaxation. And so he studied all the ancient warrior societies and like the Romans, the Spartans, all the great warrior societies of the day. And he found they feasted at the end of the day, following the circadian rhythm, right? We talk about circadian rhythm often, whether it's your hormones or anything else. So if you follow that, you want to stay light during the day, fast assimilating foods to follow that circadian rhythm. And the biggest meal, contrary to I know some of these carnivores are doing in the X3 community, I'm not going to drop any names, contrary to doing the massive meal in the AM, to me, staying light during the day and feasting is way more enjoyable, especially on the social side and being with your family. And I personally like to go to bed full. I am not one of those guys. I know it's opposite to what everybody says, but I sleep like a baby. I find I need less sleep. And personally, I'll go into like a 4 hour, 3 hour feasting window where I typically after work will break the fast with some eggs. Could be anywhere to 6 to 8 to 10 eggs, depending on how I feel. I fry them in butter. I'll throw in some smoked salmon on top. That's usually how I break my fast. And then whatever meat option is available that day. Sometimes it's beef ribs, sometimes it's ground beef, sometimes it's ribeye steaks, sometimes it's it's with the family, chicken drumsticks, wings. It doesn't matter. I'll eat anything, but I'll eat a lot of it. And then dessert for me, if I'm still hungry after that, is usually cheese, and it's raw cheese or something like Kerrygold's Dubliner, and I'll throw in some prosciutto and some pepperoni or salami, and that's typically my day, and that's how I feast, and it seems to be giving me great results. Right? Where's the carbs? They're probably in there. Oh, I'd say I do some whole fat yogurt, which would have some like 9 to 10%, but mostly fat. Right? There's a little bit of carbs in there. But it's that maybe is giving me some great results on a little bit of carb. Hey, Johan, like the little bit of dairy probably is giving me a little bit more carbs, if any, but it's really naturally helping out my energy for the training and my results. So it's given me the vascularity and the muscle endurance that I need in the X3 workouts. So it works well for me. Some people can't do dairy. It works in my genetics quite well. You got to experiment for yourself. I'll throw in for supplements here and there some cod liver oil. I do some liver, some beef liver, but I'll like it's just frozen in the freezer. I'll just pull it out of the freezer and take a bite. So it's raw frozen beef liver, but you can do supplements as well. Um, and I am experimenting a little bit with some creatine, but I don't know necessarily if I need it or if I notice any different results. What I'm hearing though, there's some great mental benefits with it on top of the recovery. What do you think, Johan? What do you think of that nutrition approach?
Um, I think we always need to find what works for you right now. That is what it's all about. We can use what other people do as inspiration,
Yeah.
and but from there, and we can use what other people do, use that as inspiration. What study says, what science says, we can use that as guidelines. But from there, we need to find what works for us right now with the goals we have. So right now, I think we talked about this in the group. I'm drinking like 26 raw eggs right now.
Awesome.
And I've been doing that since we got our last child because I'm really low on time. I have 6 kids between 4 months and 11 years. So it's a lot of things going on. We have a dog, 2 cats. We have this business with all the coaching, my own training. So I'm really low on time and I don't have time to sit down during the day and eat a lot of meals. I probably, if I wanted to maximize my muscle mass, I would probably need to, but I can't sacrifice my family for that. So I have come up with right now, I'm drinking 4 drinks during the day with 6 eggs and 6 raw eggs and 1 scoop of protein powder in each of those 4 drinks and 1 fruit and some honey to every drink. That is what I do during the day. And then when the kids are asleep, I'm eating like 3 pounds of meat, a lot of olive oil, cheese, and just trying to take everything I can and eat it before I go to bed. And that is the approach I'm having right now because that is the only way I can get enough calories in because I need all those calories if I want to grow. So that is the approach I have right now. But there is no magic about that approach. It's just what I came up with right now to solve the problem when I'm this low on time. I would have no problem eating like 3 meals instead or 4 meals, but right now I don't have the time, so I'm going with the drinks. But it is not better with the drinks and drinking raw eggs. I'm eating my meat raw and I'm drinking my eggs raw, but that is only because of time. It is not because I think it's better to do it. I just realized that I don't have, if I can save 10 minutes here and there, that is gold for me. That is amazing in my life. So if I can eat raw eggs and raw meat, it's perfect for me, but I don't recommend it for everyone because it's not better. It is not just something I can do, and therefore I do it because I need that time.
Makes sense.
So we always come back to that. You need to find what works for you right now and listen to what people say. Carnivore is great. Meat and eggs, we can gives us everything we need to thrive. But from there, we can add in a bunch of things if we need to.
Yeah, you need your base. Your
Yeah.
base should always be meat and eggs. I think if you look at even in the 80s, if anybody remembers Vince Gironda in the bodybuilding days and Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Those days. Well, Vince
Yeah.
Gironda helped train Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then he was big on the steak and egg diet to prep these guys for their shows. So, I mean, steak and eggs got everything you potentially need, red meat and eggs. And I think that's, I mean, I personally, between the few 2 to 3 eggs I do throughout the morning and day, and then another 8 or so eggs, I'm doing at least 10 to a dozen a day.
Yeah.
Everyone could stand to having eggs in their diet if you can tolerate them. And then I would say, in general, try to get some red meat as often as possible. Obviously, it's not always feasible or economical for some people, but you can find pretty cheap cuts. And be open to if you like chicken, if you like pork, they're not the optimal meats, but do them every once in a while. Uh,
Yeah.
omega threes come into your fish. Be careful with the mercury on the fish. Uh, I think occasionally throwing in some sardines is healthy. Oysters would be healthy. And yeah, I mean, simplify it, keep it simple. Any questions so far? I know we've kind of hijacked this conversation, but this is a time to see if you guys want to unmute yourself. And
Yeah, I can see that we have a question about the protein in egg whites. Is if the protein in egg whites isn't bioavailable when raw, is there any truth in that? I don't know exactly. I think it's. I remember one older study which showed like 60% bioavailability when the egg was raw versus cooked. But I think it was one study I remember showed that. The other problem you can say with eating raw egg whites is that you have a protein in the egg that is called iodine, and that is binding to biotin. So if you're eating the egg raw, you are not absorbing all of the biotin, B5 vitamin from the egg yolk. I don't see that as a problem. And I have talked to a lot of people, especially a carnivore group in Sweden, which some people are much better mathematically than I am. And what they did was they counted on the particle size of and the molecule weight of the avidin and the biotin, and they came up with that the avidin in the egg white can bind to 27% of the biotin in the egg yolk. And egg yolks have a lot of biotin, so I don't think that matter at all if you eat the whole egg. The problem with it, if you only eat the egg white, because then it will you will not absorb the biotin from another food source. You can hear my kids now. Yeah, so that is what I have to say about the bioavailability and the problem with raw eggs. Uh, yeah,
yeah, I
and
mean,
I don't drink any milk or dairy right now in my with my eggs.
you got to test and assess, right? Test and assess. Your body will tell you if it's the food that you're eating is an inflammatory food or if it's a healing food for you, right? And you'll
Yeah,
know because the way you feel, the way you look, and the way you train. So that's why a lot of people should essentially in the beginning, if they don't know, start with an elimination approach and then start slowly adding.
yeah,
That's the easiest way to do it. Like in Dr. Ken Berry is kind of one of the easiest and most relatable people to tune into. I mean, you can look into Dr. Sean Baker. I know in January everybody does the World Carnivore Month. Um, but these are all guys, you know, Dr. Anthony Chaffee. There's a lot of great YouTube guys that you can go into and start finding out what do I resonate with. Typically, I think the easiest way to start is don't go you I wouldn't go all or nothing in the beginning unless you feel like you have to. Like I wouldn't like people like Michaela and Jordan Peterson had to do that. They were dealing with some mental stuff that by in their life, the only way to do it was to go lion diet. That's really a very small percentage. And lion diet basically is just red meat and water and salt. There's a small percentage of people that really should ever go there or have to go there. Um, I personally have evolved my nutrition to be I would say it's more primal in nature, but you know, it's like a classic dirty kind of carnivore. I mean, I add in sometimes I'll add in some, you know, here in Canada, we have blackberries that grow in the summer. So I'll go picking with the kids because it's local. Um, I'll throw in some avocado and guacamole because it's just delicious. I grew up in California and I love avocado. I love guacamole. It doesn't seem to affect me, and I'll throw that in here and there. So I don't think you gotta be all or nothing or dogmatic with everything you do, but add foods in, see how they make you feel. One thing I won't do anymore at this season of my life is just like there's certain non-negotiables. I mean, you got to figure out what those are for you, but I don't play around with personally, alcohol doesn't make me feel good, so one or two drinks isn't worth it anymore for me. Um, Personally, processed foods, fast foods, flour, sugar. Um, yeah, I get there's a lot of celebratory opportunities, especially in the season between Thanksgiving and Christmas to indulge. For some of you that have, maybe it's worth it to you. For me, it's not. So I'm kind of in a place in my life now where I know what makes me feel awesome. And so you got to figure out what makes you feel awesome, right? What I've just shared with you at this point keeps me at this weight of about 175 pounds. This is the weight I am right now at 5'11, 175 is the same weight I played high school ball with. And I'm 42 as a defensive back. It's the same weight that I played collegiate ball. And I was carrying good muscle back then. And I was fast. I ran a 4.440 in the 40-yard dash. And I'm feeling light at 42. I'm feeling in many ways more fit than I was then. I did pull a calf muscle the other day, so that humbled me. But that had nothing to do. That was actually my ego because it was already bothering me for the week, and I kept on running sprints on it. And then I pulled it when I went on the diving board because my 10-year-old like, Dad, come over here, do a flip. As soon as I get on that board, soon as it launched, I knew it when I was in the midair going through the water. I'm like, oh no. Anyways, I brought it upon myself. So it feels pretty good now. It's 3 days later. So I'm not doing sprints this week. I'm being mindful. But yeah, so guys, I know there's 26 people here. So here's what I want to encourage you. And this might be weird or uncomfortable for you, but number one, there's only 5 of us with our cameras on. So in the future, we'd love to see you. That's how we get to know, like, and trust each other. Number two, this is an opportunity to connect, right? Ask questions because you're all at different places in your health journey. And we can only help each other and sharpen one another by you asking about what you personally need help with. Or, you got Johan here from Sweden who's like, he is a superhero and badass, and he knows everything, and he'll work with you no matter what, whether it's on your programming questions or specific to nutrition and supplementation and hormones. Johan, I think you probably have some good idea of hormone therapy too. So you have lots of opportunities to connect like a master there. With me, you're going to find that I am just a guy who will practically tell you what works for me through experience. But I'll tell you, I have a background in fitness nutrition. I studied through National Academy of Sports Medicine. I was a CrossFit level 1 coach, football, a lot of my own self-research and experimentation. I did the paleo diet, I did the primal diet, I did keto diet, I've done zone, I've done metabolic typing, blood. I mean, like, listen, I've done it all to figure out what works for me. And diets don't work, lifestyles do, right? Diets are restrictive. Lifestyles is something that you're going to do for the rest of your life because you love the way you feel and you actually enjoy the way you eat. Food's got to be enjoyable. I've created a lifestyle now where every day I get to feast like a king. Every day I get to indulge and eat as much as I want until I don't want to eat anymore, and yet still reap the benefits of looking and feeling and performing like my own superhero. Right? But there's always ways to do it for you. And Johan, he wrote a whole book on it. There's a lot of different ways that you can enhance that experience through things like cold plunging and breathing. And what are the other components, Johan? Mention a couple of them.
Yeah, thoughts like meditation, breathing, sleep, hydration, diet, sunlight, fresh air, movement, hot and cold immersion, training, and the last step is like the most important part is take action. Take action and create as much value in your life as possible, because having a great body isn't worth anything if we don't do anything with it. If we are behaving bad towards people, if you are laying in the couch and just do nothing. Life is about creating value for people around us, for our community, for our society, for ourselves, for our kids. And yeah, that is life. Take action. So that is the 10th step. And that is what my book is about, all those steps and what they meant for me and how they changed my life.
Yeah, go get it. It was awesome. I read the whole thing. I would say it, and it's affordable, and it's going to allow you to kind of literally take new action steps right away that can make a huge difference. Listen, the funny thing is everybody wants to make the change January 1st because it's New Year's resolution. Why not beat the clock and do it now? Right? Beat the calendar. Like, you want to take action. Some of you just need to make it happen. Right? And so, um, and just understand, like next week, I'm going to have the founder of Primal on, and we're going to go back and forth with these masterminds because a lot of us need to address hormonal issues, right? Because of the lifestyle or just our age, things kind of go a different direction. And that's why we have that. We have hormones, we have peptides, we have ways with cutting edge medical and technology now that can kind of be interventions that can specifically get you back to the way that you're, wanting to look, feel, and perform, so that in conjunction with the nutrition, in conjunction with the X3 bar training, I am biased. I personally say I've done it all, right? I've done barbells, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, body weight, calisthenics, every type of training you can imagine on this planet Earth. Yoga. My mom was a Bikram yoga instructor, and I was doing Bikram yoga twice a day at one point in my life. So I've done it all. The X3 bar is the end all be all for me. I'm telling you, everyone should have one in their hands. And if you don't, go get one. It'll be the best investment you ever have. This will be the last
Excuse
piece
me,
of equipment
guys.
you use. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing? Can you guys hear me okay?
I can, yeah.
You know what? Let me see if I can get a video going here. Give me one sec, please. Myself. How you guys doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Good, thanks. Fellow Canadian over here, Dwayne. Hey, Marcus.
Wayne, nice,
Hey,
man. Where you
Johan, how you
located?
doing?
Where you located?
Hey.
I'm in Toronto.
Okay, other side.
Yeah, so I'm just multitasking right now. I'm at work, working from home. But just want to say quick thanks for organizing this. This is fantastic. I love what you're doing. I love what you guys are doing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And lots of value here. I've kind of been stalking you guys on in the forum for like the warrior diet and in your earlier posts. So much appreciated. My quick question though, I only want to interject before we head off, is have you guys already talked about some of the cognitive benefits of, excuse me, not cognitive benefits, but what are some things that people can do? Because I heard you mention it earlier to improve to improve their cognitive abilities? That's my first question. And then second is if we have like aging parents or that sort of thing who, they're pretty much, I won't say stuck in their ways, but it'll be a bit more of a challenge to kind of say, hey, you should get rid of all plant food and go carnivore.
Right.
What are some things that people can do to help to improve their cognitive abilities? And I just stop talking from there.
No, phenomenal question. And I'll let Johan answer after I answer mine. In my experience, when you make fat your preferred fuel, personally,
Mhm.
when you make fat your preferred fuel, that in itself is going to make a massive difference in your cognitive function. Because as
Mhm.
soon as you start throwing in the like what I'd say the glucose or the carbohydrates, you find like the blood sugar issues, right? And I know Dr. J has a nutrient. I don't remember what it's called specifically. Johan, you might
Yeah.
how to counter that carbohydrate crash. But personally, I just don't. I just don't because I love the way I feel with fat in my coffee, with fat naturally that's in my bone broth. I find it gives you the perfect complementary feeling as you would in a fast. So you're
Okay.
basically ninja hacking fasting because you can go a fast. You can go water or black coffee and tea only and 0 calories, right? I'm not a calorie guy. I hate calories. I hate the idea of weighing and measuring, which is why I do what I do because I've
Mhm.
done it before. I get it. From a CrossFit background, you measure everything because that's the only way you get results. Sometimes you should start with weighing and measuring just so you have a realistic idea of what you're putting in your body and the results you're getting. But I believe that every single person should shoot for being an intuitive eater. And if you're eating the right foods, your body should naturally tell you when to stop. It's when you're eating the wrong foods that your body is not registering that as true nutrition. And that's why we overeat a lot of the foods. So that being said, for cognitive function, me personally, fatty coffees or bulletproof style coffees, and you can make up your own, or you can try to use mine. I call it the Superman coffee. And bone brothing is
Mm.
easiest way to do it throughout the day and morning. And then I would say if you still want to eat, add in the eggs. Eggs are super light. It doesn't put too much it's not too hard to digest, so you're not going to take a lot of energy away from your cognitive function. And I would save, if you're really trying to stay cognitively high during the day, I would save your meat for the evening, for your PM window. Maybe try in some Greek yogurt if you need something else. Some people, depending on, have done shakes, whether it's the beef shake or if a grass-fed organic whey. Dr. or Ori Hofmeckler used to talk about pulse feeding for athletes, where he would speak to fast assimilating proteins throughout the day if you needed it. And that seems to work. That's the way I'm kind of hacking into it. For your parents, I would say if they don't want to do carnivore, at least focus with them on finding the lowest oxalate foods, the highest fat foods, and more animal-based. As you age too, protein consumption becomes more and more important.
Mm-hmm.
You lose muscle mass, right, as we get older. So the idea of getting them more protein and more fat and lower carb, I think is going to be the best approach, even if they need, so breakfast is bacon and eggs, going back to the 60s, right? Going back to before we started removing fat, when that whole fat-free craze came in that ruined and caused a global pandemic of obesity. Fat is the best thing you could possibly have in your body. I'm a huge proponent of high fat, high protein, with the exception of guys like Johan who are like competing at the bodybuilding level or specific athletes. But the more research I'm doing, I mean, there's, I think Dr. Feeney, a guy out of South Africa, has done massive studies on keto and low carb with athletes and showing incredible. Your body has to adapt, but you can adapt. And you can, like I've heard some really fascinating stories of carnivores who are thriving in these power output sports.
Mm.
So I don't necessarily believe that you actually, I think more research has to be done, but I think you're going to see a lot of these guys in professional sports adapting to a more carnivore approach.
Oh, that's great, Marcus. Thank you so much. Did Johan have any input on that?
Yeah, I can. About what Marcus said in the end about athletes doing more carnivore, I believe so. Me too. When it comes to performance, I don't think carbs are necessary. Carbs are, in my mind, more necessary for looks. How much muscle you build and how you look, not for how you perform. You don't need carbs.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay.
That is what I believe. When it comes to cognitive benefit, I want to approach that from a kind of different angle. I want to talk about gut health. That comes first. We have something we call the gut-brain connection.
Mhm.
Depending how your gut feels, your brain will react to that. If your brain feel bad, your gut will feel bad. And if your gut feel bad, your brain will feel bad. So you will feel bad. So you need to listen to your gut. Whenever you are eating something, how does that food sit in your stomach? How do you digest that? Will it make you feel gassy, bloated? Whatever. If anyone says like meat and eggs are the best, but whenever you eat eggs, you feel like crap because you are starting to feel gassy and bloated from eggs, then you shouldn't eat eggs. It doesn't matter if everyone tells you that eggs are good. If your gut is telling you that eggs are bad for you, they are bad. So, and the same goes for if everyone is saying that it's bad to eat fruit, but whenever you eat fruit, your gut feels really good and you feel good, then you can eat fruit. So
Mm,
that is the first thing I want everyone to respond to when it comes to diet. It is how your gut feels, because that will affect how your brain functions. We have a brain gut connection, and we need to be better at listening to that brain gut connection. Then I truly believe that this will be a hot topic, especially for this group, because I know that everyone is talking about diet maybe as the most important thing for our health. I want to say that we need to live for a purpose. We need to have a reason to live. And that is more important than the diet we are eating, because our brains are that much powerful. Uh, I have a short story. My wife worked, what it's called, she was going home to people that are sick and helping them in their homes. I don't know what I can't find a word right now for it in English, so I will try to explain it as
Hospice.
good as possible.
Hospice care.
Hospice.
Yeah, so she has been working with people with autism and stuff like that her entire life, and she was going home to an older person that had autism. He was around 60, 70 years old, but when she came there, his mom, around 90, 95 years old, she was running around cleaning the house, taking care of him, and really energetic, lively, all those things. But she was over 90 years old. And she told me when she came back about this situation. And that things like that makes it so clear for me that she had a purpose, because she knew if she dies, her son will be alone and he couldn't do anything by himself. He had no friends. He couldn't really have a social connections. All her son had was that woman. So even though she was 95 years old, I can guarantee she didn't eat carnivore. She didn't have a perfect diet. Wasn't focusing on sleep or hydration, but she had one purpose in life, and that was to take care of her child until the day he dies. And that was what keeps her going. So when it comes to cognitive benefit, I would say gut brain connection and find a purpose and pursuing that purpose every single day.
I couldn't agree more, Johan. I mean, I think ultimately I've read this beautiful definition of purpose. It's where the passions that you have in your life, what you're really passionate about, and the proficiencies intersect. The proficiencies that you have would be your skill set, what you're naturally good at. Where the passions and those proficiencies that you've gained over your lifetime intersect, that's where you find purpose. So if
powerful.
if you figure that out, wow, right? Because now you get to serve others. And so I think your true calling, your true purpose is to serve others with the gift, with your passion, because they notice it. It's infectious. You're basically in what we call a flow state, because you're doing what you love and you love what you do, and people can see it on you, all over you. And who doesn't want to be around those type of people, right? It's inspiring. So I couldn't agree more, Johan. Like right now, I'm in my purpose. There's no place I'd rather be than right here with you and the rest of the community. I love community. I love bringing people together with this idea of sharpening one another. Iron sharpens iron, right? We're all here trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And whether we are focusing on changing our diet, whether we're focusing on utilizing the X3 bar, or whatever else we're doing. That's what I really was my vision for this community. My vision was, hey, let's figure out what we could do to optimize our health. What is it? Is it what? Because there's so many components of like, what is transformation? Transformation is mind, body, spirit, right? I mean, that's a whole nother conversation on the spirit side and on the faith side. But what I will tell you is that truly is, it's all encompassing.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you both
Hello?
and everybody else that's been contributing. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Dwayne, I'd love to have you.
Yep.
We'll be here every week, brother.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, see you next Wednesday.
Gotcha. Pedro, go ahead, brother. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. My name is Pedro Luna. Marcus, just want to thank you for letting me into this group. The conversation that we had before was very inspiring. Yeah, I've been looking at your Facebook. It's been amazing, crazy knowledge. The X3 bar is definitely coming soon because I need that. My question is though too is about is really about diet, right? And you know, so far to this day, I've lost like 65 pounds, and I'm trying to keep the momentum up, right? And I'm trying to just stay focused and trying not having my body not adapt and plateau real quick. The most that I'm trying to lose is fat. And I know there's a big discussion between fat and muscle, right? So losing fat and building muscle. So my question is like, what would be the proper diet right now to maximize my fat loss, but also gain muscle? Or I know it's hard to do both, and there's always a huge discussion whether you can or not. But I guess to maintain my muscle. So you know, so I know you have to eat in order to maximize your fat loss, but also is it possible to gain a little bit of muscle in the process? And like, you know, for Johan, like too, like, you know, what would it be the recommended, you know, type of diet?
Dude, I mean, honestly, I'm going to be biased here. And you know
Mhm.
my answer. I think intuitively know what you're going to say, and you're going to hear it from me. Carnivore, 100%.
Yeah.
It's hard to
Yeah.
mess that up. It's hard to overeat meat and eggs. I'm telling you, if you're
Yeah.
overeating eggs,
Yeah.
like try to. Your body's naturally going to tell you when to stop.
I just ate 6 eggs.
Cook that shit in
Yeah,
butter.
I love
You know what I
eggs.
mean?
I have chickens, so
Yeah.
I mean, I love eggs. You know what I
Perfect.
mean? Like,
So
I
eat as
love
many
eggs.
eggs as you can,
Yeah.
as much meat as you can, right?
Mhm.
Like if you need a little bit of extra, like I would call it meat candy, throw in some bacon,
Mhm.
throw in some prosciutto,
Mhm.
throw in like whatever you got to do. But for now, I would
Mhm.
go almost like the Dr. Ken Berry beef, butter, bacon, and eggs as my like go-to while I'm doing what I'm doing if I were you, because it's easy, it's sustainable, you can take it with you.
Mhm.
You know, and then alternate, like if you need a little bit more variety, you can try a little bit of dairy to see how it affects you. Some people it's inflammatory and it's easy to overdo, right? Like
Mhm.
when I was throwing heavy whipping cream in my coffee, I was definitely 5 pounds heavier.
Okay.
because
Okay.
because heavy whipping cream is delicious, and all of a
It
sudden,
is.
you're like, oh, I could do another 2 or 3 cups and throw in, you know, as much whipping cream, and all of a sudden it's, you know, I think it's like lots of calories per even tablespoon.
Yeah.
Anyways, you'll have to figure out what works for you. I'm at a place right now where throwing in some Greek yogurt and cheese is my go-to. Maybe experiment with and experiment without. Rotate for now, just for variety, put everything in there. Like don't go all or nothing. Throw in the salt, throw in the pepper, throw in some dry rub spices. Don't over like, and then over time, you might find that some are inflammatory, some are not, right? It depends on what your body, how your body reacts. But that's where I would start. I would go more keto carnivore as an approach.
Yeah.
And you know, depending on how you want to create a lifestyle, you might throw in some avocado or berries here and there, or you might just say, you know, I'm going to go 30 days without it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I would do. I mean, and I know you talked about fasting a little bit. I would do what I do
Yeah.
fasting.
I love fasting. Yeah.
Instead of fasting, I would try what I do with the fatty coffees and the bone broth and alternate between, maybe you do a fast where you decide, hey, today I'm not going to do just water. And then tomorrow I'm going to try the Marcus approach where I ninja hack it a little bit and just do liquids
Mhm.
like bone broth and fatty type of coffees or teas, or even, you know, it's good. I've tried before is hot water, a blended egg and butter with some electrolytes,
Okay.
right? Or you throw an egg into the bone broth, blend it real quickly, and it's. I'm telling you, I know it sounds weird. It's delicious.
No, it sounds good. Sounds good to me. Makes sense.
And then
It
just
makes sense.
drink those throughout the day. Stay hydrated.
Yeah.
I'm big on salts. I'm big on electrolytes.
Hmm.
I know some people do without it. I personally love it, especially I can send you a video. Just remember to DM me on where I found the how to make your own electrolyte mix, so you don't have to go buy any of the other crap.
Oh, okay.
You just order it from a
Okay.
bulk supplement. You get the Redmond sea salt, potassium, and magnesium.
Yep.
And make your own mix, and now you can just take a little teaspoon here and there in your different drinks that you're drinking throughout the day.
Nice. Nice. That sounds excellent.
Yeah, Johan, would you add or say anything to that?
First, I want to ask. We got a question here from Mike Nelson. He wants to know, Pedro, what you did to lose those 60 pounds.
I you know, I pretty much fasted a lot. You know, I fasted a lot. I went and I started incorporating. The gym came, I would say, after probably like 2 months. After I lost about half of that, I started going to the gym, and I really was on a keto diet. I enjoy the keto diet. I enjoy carnivore. I've done it all. I've been in this position many times, unfortunately. And it's just me is me trying to get as healthy as I can before I hit 40, and that's my motivation. My kids are my motivation right now. So I've always been in this position, and so I'm just trying to keep it going. But yeah, it's just mainly fasting, and lots of protein.
Okay, so how much do you weigh now?
So right now I'm currently 295.
Okay, what do you think your like goal weight is?
215.
215.
About
And
215.
you said that you have been here a couple of times before.
Yeah.
Yeah. What and the same thing always happens. You like
Same thing.
290, 285, and then you start going up again.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's been my MO, you know, and so I've been just I had to change what I did and how I eat and how I sleep, everything, you know. And
Yeah.
I think as you get older, you start realizing what matters and what's important. And you know, my wife always says, like, well, you know, this is the holidays and you're eating, you're probably going to be cheating, and you're going to eat, and then you're going to fall right back into what you were doing before, right? And so my thing was just trying to, you know, mentally be there, present, and know my faults and know my pitfalls. And so and one thing that I know I didn't do a lot of was just having a steady schedule as far as the gym. So I go 5 days a week. I'm trying to make it a habit now. I've been going for 3 months, and try to lift heavy, stretch a lot, and eat protein. And I think just fasting just works with me. Like fasting just makes sense to me. So I do prolonged fast though too. I do three days of prolonged fast, just water. And it just resets everything for me. Like when I get those cravings, those sugar cravings, those carb cravings, I go on a prolonged fast, and it helps. It helps that reset my body, reset my mind, and I just keep going.
Okay, so when you come to a plateau, we have several things. We have like you need to feed yourself with a purpose every single day, the reasons why you are doing this.
Okay.
So because that is probably what happens in the earlier when you start because you feel like you have done good, you are kind of proud of yourself, and you don't have a bigger goal, so you start to cheat, and then you find yourself back up again. So I want to say feed yourself with the purpose and all the reasons why every single day so you continue. Then I would also say when you start to reach a plateau, when your body says it's enough, continue to eat the same kind of food, but eat a little bit more again. Because when you reach a plateau, can be because your body is stressed.
Mm.
So maybe in that case, you should stop fasting for a while. Just give the body all the nutrients it needs, give it the right kind of food every single day, and just be cool in that okay, it might not happen for 3 or 4 weeks now. You can stay at 290, 295. And then when you feel that your body is set at 295 on a higher calorie, you can start to fast again and start to go down again. But first, I think it's great when you reach a plateau, start to eat more, stop with all the stressors in life, stop with the fasting, because fasting is great. Fasting is a tool we have for weight loss and for health reasons. But fasting isn't good every single day forever. Fasting is one of the tools we can use. But as with everything in life, we have pros and cons with everything. So the con with fasting is that it's a big stressor. It is a bunch of health reasons, but it's also a big stress for you. So when you have done it too much and reached that plateau, start to eat again. Maybe eat a couple of times per day. So with you're eating protein, so you're releasing insulin. By releasing insulin, you are shutting down cortisol. And if you are shutting down cortisol a couple of times per day, you are lowering your stress from in your body. And after a while, you are ready to start to go down again.
Okay.
But to not lose it during this period is so important, that you know that this will happen. I will not lose weight now for 3 or 4 weeks, and that's fine. I'm good with that. And continue to feed yourself with the reasons why. Continue to feed yourself with the purpose, so you don't lose it just because you don't lose weight at that point.
Right.
I agree.
Right.
That's so good, Johan. It's huge. You need accountability. You need community. I think big part of purpose is having both of those, right? Because we all need to get inspired and stay inspired. And that has to happen on the daily, right? So come to the X3 community for inspiration. Come to the masterminds. Like obviously you got Johan, myself here, and others in this group that are all trying to be the best versions of themselves. You also got to recognize hormonal issues, right? As we discussed. If you don't have the testosterone that your body needs, and the master hormone is insulin. Like insulin is the one you have personal control over. So you want to get insulin sensitivity, you want to bring up that testosterone level. The combination of those twos with a solid plan like the X3 bar and eating right, along with the other X3 superhero, Johan components there, because you can kind of just keep on optimizing. But at the base level, you want to start feeling good, right? When you start feeling good. And that's why I don't particularly fast anymore like I used to, because I find this warrior diet approach that I've kind of adapted from Ori Hofmeckler, where I tap into that fight or flight with these light assimilating fast foods that don't do much. I would say the energy level that I'm putting in my body is very low, but it's satiating. The bone broth, it's satiating. The fatty coffee, it's satiating. The little egg I'm getting here and there, it's satiating enough for me cognitively to stay high, inspired, motivated, driven, right? I know what I got to do. It's like we used to have to go hunt before we feasted, but we don't do that anymore. So our day is the hunt. Our AM to the end of the day is literally the hunt. So what are we doing? We're replacing that type of idea now in a way that we can adapt it to our lifestyles of working. We're the providers, right? Mostly for our family. So I'm always looking at how do I enhance my cognitive function so I can be optimized up here to give the most of myself to my purpose and calling, so that at the end of the day, I can rest and relax with my family and in a social gathering in that atmosphere that I've created that's super joyful to be able to eat like I eat. So you got to ultimately adjust it for you, but you'll know. And I always tell people, you got to be your own N=1 experiment.
Right. But can I jump in?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'm also from Sweden, so not Switzerland.
Yes, represent.
Super motivating, and I want to try this carnivore and fasting. But how do you do with the rest of your family when they are eating pizzas and so on? I also got 4 kids, so it's difficult.
I just eat.
So,
They just eat their food. So what I do
Okay.
is, because 4 kids. I've got Austin 10, Elijah 8, Jackson 5. I try my best to give them always some sort of protein in their meals, but they're
Okay.
just. I remember how I was, right? And I've survived. I probably
Yeah.
ate worse food than they did, for sure. I would say, based on growing up in the 90s. But I'll tell you, just try your best to get them animal-based foods. And
Yeah.
when they do eat pizza, and there's carnivore pizzas now. There's great recipes. Courtney Luna has a great book. A lot of people are coming out with some really fantastic keto carnivore type of recipes for kids. Right?
Yeah, but one of my girls, she's a vegan. So how do I convince her to go?
Oh gosh, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean,
Yeah. 16 years old and
yeah,
difficult.
she's made a choice more
Mhm.
probably that's going to have to happen over time, where she's eventually going to fall into, like, unless she's optimizing vegan, it's really hard to give your body the proper vitamins, minerals, and macronutrients that it needs. It can be done, but it's extremely difficult. And typically there's a lot of digestive issues happening and inflammation issues. So
Yeah.
she'll come to that conclusion on her own. All you can do is be an example.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And so I think the key is, as leaders of the home, what we got to do is essentially they'll know us by our fruit, right? Meaning the fruit that comes out of our life. If we look strong, if we are cognitively high, if we're leading, our levels are all up, they're like, what are you doing, Dad? Why are you feeling so strong and high and purpose driven? Well, here's what I'm doing, So ultimately, you just got to show them through the way you live.
Yeah.
And it's your non-negotiable, because that's who you are. It's the superhero that you've created.
Yeah, I'm doing X3 almost every day.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Johan your
Yes.
coach?
No,
Oh,
maybe. I bought this book today, so I haven't started
Perfect.
reading.
yeah. Well, I mean, he's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not as strong as him.
hey,
Not
it's all relative. It's you are not competing against anybody but yourself. Are you stronger than you were yesterday? Right?
hopefully.
So my workout program has day 1 chest, day 2 back and calves, 3 is quads, which I did today, which is always the crusher. You put it right in the middle of the week, Johan. That's one that's like, I hate it, but I love it. And it's usually when I'm going to be eating the biggest meal too, because that's the hardest workout. Tomorrow will be shoulders. Day 5 is arms, and day 6 is lower back and hamstrings. Day 7 for me is rest. I love this workout because it fits my lifestyle. I love to train every day. I'm one of those guys that feels like I have to do something, even on rest days. I'm like, oh, I want to do something, but I'm not going to do it. So that's just me. But there is the X3 programming in the group. That's the OG. There's a hypertrophy program. I mean, there's many people. I'm biased. I think Johan's program, for me, from what I've seen, is the best out there.
Okay.
So if you want to get in and out 20, 30 minutes a day, but get massive results, work with him. He's awesome. Cool, guys. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming to this mastermind. We'll end it right about here. And as always, let me know. So next week, it's going to be a little bit different format. We're going to be introducing the founder of Primal Medical. And so you'll kind of switch back to asking, the cutting edge hormone therapy and specifically peptides, and the vision kind of for where Primal Medical is and where that's going next week. So stay tuned for that. And then we'll kind of alternate week in and week out. And if there's anybody that you want me to bring on as a guest, send them my way, right? We can bring Dr. J back, obviously. Or if there's any topic or discussion you want to focus on future masterminds, DM me on Messenger, on Facebook, and we could definitely consider that for the future topic. Sound great?
Hey, Marcus,
Awesome.
thanks. Real quick question. Is there a way to, I know you can record in Zoom, you can record the video, obviously. Is there a way that we can get the chat? I see some people posting some resources in the chat, and I've seen others in other meetings have been able to record the chat session as well.
Yeah.
If that's, I don't know if you've already done that or
I believe it comes with the link that I send out. So
okay,
So when I go to post the recording, I think you can actually download it. I'll double check for you, but absolutely
sure.
get the resources in there.
Yeah, that's needs to enable safe chat for us. Oh, somebody just posted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah, if you can enable that or if it's already there, fantastic. I just want to be sure that
I just
going
I,
forward,
I just
go
put
ahead.
chat saved, show and finder. So I'll be able to figure out how to save that and send it your way. Whatever, there was a little option on top where it said chat save, so I just did that.
Yeah, perfect. All right, thank you.
Awesome. Any other last minute questions? Nope, we're good. Johan,
I have
I'm really
I have a question.
Yeah, David, go ahead.
Are you guys familiar with any diets helping people like with their mental illnesses, such as bipolar disease?
Yes, the lion diet. So Dr. Peterson and Michaela Peterson both had issues with bipolar, and they went red meat and salt for a period of time, and they are all shouting from the rooftops that it's changed their lives.
Okay.
Look at
I've kind of heard that before, or that like a very, very strict ketogenic diet is
Yes.
something that
Yes.
has helped people.
Amber, there's a gal you can look into, Amber O'Hearn. Amber O'Hearn that I've I would look into Amber O'Hearn and I would look into Michaela and Jordan Peterson on their experience with mental health, specifically being healed through the carnivore diet.
Okay. Do you guys have any, like Daniel Magar really promotes cycling the calories in his diet for like
Yeah. I'm not into that personally, but he's trying to get as lean as possible, which I don't have the same goals. So I ultimately I'm more of a like, how do you create a lifestyle without measuring and weighing things? And that's personally what I think is going to be more sustainable for the rest of your life. You might have to do it for a while, but you got to have to experiment with yourself.
Yeah. What about any form of dry fasting?
Any form of what?
Dry fasting?
I know there are people that do it. So you know what I would really like, try everything, see how you feel, test it. Try even what I've been doing, right? You'd be surprised. I'm telling you, like, try just bone broth, have a freaking bone broth 24/7 on. Watch how good the glycine, the collagen, everything that's naturally occurring in there is going to start making you feel amazing. And you're going to start feeling cognitively functioning like a pro. But if you're a coffee drinker, try what I've done. Like, yeah, Martin Birkin, yeah, Lean Gains, yeah, he was one of the guys originally with intermittent fasting. So Ori Hoffmeckler and I have had some deep conversations, and he's kind of more on the vegetarian nuts and seeds and plants approach, and so that's where we draw the line. Because I'm like, like I get it, but no, I'm gonna take the great things that you did and make it carnivore. So that's why when you see posts, I'm calling it the carnivore warrior diet, because I'm like, I'm just taking everything you talked about and making it carnivore.
I got you.
Yeah. Ultimately, listen, I've been the extreme all or nothing guy, and that's typically my personality. I find that you have to do that at times, but you ultimately want to figure out what's going to make it fun for you and that you're going to enjoy doing every single day and get excited to do. Right? If you don't have joy in the way you eat, what's life about, right? Like, so there's a joy that you can create by just choosing the right foods that make you feel awesome, that make you perform awesome and look awesome.
Okay, thank you.
I wish I had some better. I mean, I would say look into those resources. Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Anthony Chaffee are my fave. Amber O'Hearn. Yeah, those are kind of my probably top 3.
Okay, so I got Auburn O'Haron
Amber
and Ken
O'Hearn.
Berry.
Yeah, she's like, I think she created some sort of, I can't remember the book, but you can look her up. Amber O'Hearn. It's something to do with eat fat. She's a big on high fat carnivore. And women specifically need to eat higher fat than men most of the time. You're going to see like the steak and butter gal and other girls literally eat butter, like chew into it. As part of because they're women, for their hormones, they need a lot more fat. I think Emily Bright wrote a book about women hormone optimization. So yeah, I would say women in that category actually need more fat than men. But yeah, there it is. Mostlyfat.com, eat meat. There's a link. If you click on that link real quick. Thank you. Whoever XXDFDF is, appreciate you throwing some good stuff in the chat feature. I don't know what your actual name is. I'm guaranteeing it's not XXDFDF. But yeah, that's the link right there. She actually cured her own self from, I believe, bipolar.
Okay. That's pretty interesting.
Click on that link, and I think she got like some great free resources in there.
Yeah, I clicked on it, so I'll take a look at it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Hey, have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again, Johan, for coming, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Guys.
Thank you. Super nice.